the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic process. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizen can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
Oh, and with that, good morning, welcome back, or good afternoon, depending on where you are, or good evening for that matter.
Good day. It is Tuesday, October 9th, 2012 here in sunny Kelowna, and welcome to Radio Free Canada Mock Harper Tuesday segment.
Yeah, Mock Harper Tuesday. It's a great way to start. I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet.
Everything that you're about to hear is our opinion and only our opinion, so please don't get too bent out of shape. That's the way free speech works. Sorry, you're going to have to deal with it.
And everything we say is protected under Section 2 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Of course, until Stephen Harper gets his way, and you will be hearing media as protected under Section or under the
International Fair Use copyright laws.
You know what, man? You're picking it up because it's awesome. I'm glad you can cover my butt like that because it's just after the long weekend and we have got so much turkey in our brains right now.
Oh, that's right. The tryptophan is working on me. I slept so well last night.
And when you're eating all healthy, you've got all of this really good energy. We avoided GMOs. We had a 100-mile meal over the weekend. Make sure you do your research and start doing that when you're having family gatherings because it's an awesome way to support your local community.
That's right. So, today's show, what's coming up on the show today?
Oh,
Mr. Howard?
I'm so hyped. We had an awesome show on Friday talking about some of the solutions that are out there, but we attended a very important meeting on Thursday about smart meters. So we're going to cover smart meters today in this hour. We're also going to be covering things like mocking Stephen Harper and John Baird.
Because they give us such easy targets to shoot at. I mean, it's like fish in a barrel with those guys.
We're also going to be starting a discussion on peace because peace is a vital part of civilization. At least that's what we think anyway.
Especially when the experts say that supporting Israel is an important part of our foreign policy and national security. I beg to differ.
So we're going to take a look at the things we're allowed to talk about and not allowed to talk about. And quickly now, we're going to be talking about pipe dreams, bad beef, jobs, and big piles of BS from the government.
And my favorite, the presidential reality show. Because it doesn't really matter who you vote for, you'll get the guy with the best campaign.
So if you haven't gotten the clue yet, we got to warn you right now. We are out-of-the-box thinkers. We're part of Red Pill Radio. There's a revolution of consciousness going on right now, and we're part of it. We're part of society's growing defense mechanism against the great piles of BS the government is slogging on the people all the time. So we're going to be giving you out-of-the-box thinking. So if you're one of those people who thinks that banks should continue not paying income tax,
or that oil companies should continue receiving huge subsidies and tax breaks from our government,
if you think that our grocery shelves should not protect you by labeling GMOs,
or if you think McDonald's is a restaurant,
or CHBC is the news, then stop listening now. Oh, please stop listening. Don't get on our Facebook wall and say that we suck. We know that's your opinion. We suck. Too bad. This is a revolution of consciousness. People are abandoning greed, taking on self-sustainability, and making things happen. Activism is working, and that's why we're working hard for you. Totally independent radio, bringing you amazing, out-of-the-box thinking, and great video from Rick Mercer right now to start off the show.
Pierre Poilievre said the recent embassy arrangement between England and Canada is more about sharing a photocopier than sharing foreign policy.
We here at the Photocopy Association of Canada highly discourage this practice. A shared photocopier can be a hornet's nest of complications with issues such as legal and letter size troubles, toner problems, and germs. And worst of all, when Canada really needs a photocopy, it may not even be available. So stop Canada's foreign dependence on photocopiers. Send your MP 100 copies of a letter telling them we need a strong, dependable domestic supply. When it comes to Canadian embassies, do not go Dutch with the British.
Brought to you by the Photocopier Association of Canada. The Photocopier Association of Canada.
What a great way to start the show. This is an awesome day. It's Tuesday. Our Mock Harper Monday moved off because of the long weekend. And those of you tuning in around the world, yes, Canadians take a lot of long weekends.
No, I don't think so. I don't think we take nearly enough long weekends. We have so much on our plates, so to speak.
We are doing it. We are demanding democracy. We're making sure that those guys at City Hall understand that there's 1,500 homeless people in Kelowna. They're ignoring them. We're not. We're here starting the demand for democracy. Stay tuned. We're going to take our first quick break right here. Why? Because some of our guys in the network have to pay off some bills, and, well, good for them. Which, of course, means we have to do the big air guitar in the studio right now.
Yes.
You're tuned into it. It's a revolution. Activism is winning. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Awesome show today.
You ain't seen nothing till you're down on a muffin, then you're sure to be changing your ways. I met a cheerleader, was a real young breed, all times I can reminisce. All the best things of loving with a sister and a cousin, only started with a little kiss like this. Seesaw swinging with the balls in the school and your feet flying up in the air. Singing, hey, diddle-diddle with your kitty in the middle of the swing like it didn't care. So I took a big chance at the high school dance with the mister who was ready to play. Wasn't me, she was fooling, cause she knew what she was doing, and I know love was here to stay. But she told me to walk this way, walk this way, walk this way, walk this way. Just give me a kiss. There was 3 young ladies in a school gym locker when I noticed they was looking at me. I was a high school loser, never made it with a lady till the boss told me something I missed. Then my next door neighbor with a daughter had a favor, so I gave her just a little kiss like this. She was fooling cause she knew what she was doing when she taught me how to walk this way. She told me to walk this way, walk this way, walk this way, walk this way.
Oh, yeah, welcome to the revolution. Welcome to the winning team.
Walk this way, talk this way.
Live well. It always makes those conservatives. You know, they don't drink, don't dance, don't swear, don't do anything that's any type of human activity at all.
No, I just think they think evil thoughts all day.
You know, they sit there and they go, well, this is our plan, and we can plot on the side and make so much money, but it's all imaginary money. That's what blows me away,
I know.
You know, you're looking at Lang & O'Leary Exchange on CBC News. They don't talk about fractional reserve lending. The fact that banks make money up from nowhere. It's one of those things that we cover here at Radio Free Canada that they do not, bringing you the real story about the economy. And oh my goodness, you look over the weekend and you see the war drums are pounding.
Just pounding. They want their war so bad.
They are. And you got to remember the banks, the central banks finance both sides of the war so that no matter what, they win. Okay?
So what's that old quotation, who benefits?
Yeah, who benefits? Yeah, he who holds the gold rules. That's what they think anyways, but they don't have any gold. It's all made up from nowhere. We will be covering the fact that banks make up money from nowhere, do not pay income tax later on in the show today, but that's what we mean by saying that we're out-of-the-box thinkers and that we've got some things to think about right here in Canada.
That's right.
Okay,
Speaking of Canada,
45 clips in the next 2 hours.
We're not going to get to them all, but we'll try and cover as much as we can.
No, we are. We do. We put up a big list, and we're also going to have some makeup shows because some people have said, well, you make mention of this and then you don't cover the story. We apologize, but we are not corporate news. Well, in no way, shape, or form are we the big boys, and we kind of like it that way.
So it seems that our foreign policy minister, John Baird, Hillary's counterpart, decided to stand in for our dear leader at the UN and address them, and he had some not so nice things to say, once again embarrassing us on the world stage.
Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird delivered a scathing rebuke Monday to the United Nations, taking to the podium at the General Assembly to scold the UN for its failures and inefficiencies. John Baird said the UN's failings are particularly evident in its inability to stop the bloodshed in Syria.
While the brutal and repressive regime of Bashar al-Assad continues the slaughter of its own people.
The UN spends too much time in self-examination, he continued, and needs instead to focus on the problems around the world that demand its attention. Quote, not in spite of our commitment, but because of our commitment to this body, we cannot and will not participate in endless, fruitless, inward-looking exercises. The UN spends too much time on itself. It must now look outward, end quote. Baird was speaking to the General Assembly on Canada's behalf after Prime Minister Stephen Harper traveled to New York last week, not to address the UN, but to accept a World Statesman
So there's
Award
Stephen
a few
Harper,
blocks
our
away.
illustrious leader, not going to the UN, getting our, John Baird right there, out in the front stage. Why is he there?
The Baird in the China shop?
Yeah, he is. So those of you down in the States, John Baird is like Hillary Clinton's counterpart, right? And he's there just as a lackey, a front man for Stephen Harper. And we don't know why he's on stage.
Well, because he also supports the Zionist lobby quite a bit as well.
Yeah, and we got to talk about Zionism and the difference between the Jewish people and the Zionist people, which are two different groups. And we have to take a look at the way that the balance of peace is going. But here we got a government, our Canadian government. We apologize to people around the world because they're blindly supporting Israel.
They say they're even better friends to Israel than the U.S. is.
Which is crazy, crazy.
I mean, we don't have APAC here. Do we have a CAPAC?
I don't know.
Or a KIPAC?
What's APAC?
American-Israeli Peace something.
Yeah, it's one of those funky acronyms that just makes you go,
It's one of the hugest lobbying groups in the U.S. Congress, anyway.
Well, they don't have a lobbying group. They have the Canadian government to be their front man.
Of course, yes.
I mean, we've got Harper representing Enbridge really well. I mean, Baird is doing a good job of representing Israel and slamming theirs. But the Canadians are critical of the fact that Stephen Harper left Baird up on the front stage and went to some... Okay, you be the judge.
Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper has received a World Statesman of the Year award from the Appeal of Conscience Foundation, a New York-based group founded by Rabbi Arthur Schneider. Critics say that Stephen Harper's award is a product of his willingness to whitewash Israel's periodic violations of human rights, along with his zealous support for Israel's genocidal plots against Syria, Iran, and any other country which challenges Israeli hegemony in the Middle East.
It is ridiculous that this Zionist organization has the right, or is actually giving out human rights awards. This in and of itself is an abuse of the concept of human rights. And I would claim it is a crime against humanity for this human rights, quote-unquote human rights Zionist organization to be giving out human rights awards to a human rights abuser. It's just, the contradictions are so obvious that you'd have to be delusional not to see them.
The Canadian Prime Minister incurred criticism from political opponents for not going to the UN while in the Big Apple, preferring instead to spend his time at this exclusive event, a decision that analysts say symbolizes Canada's departure from being an advocate of multilateralism.
We see in Stephen Harper, we see this Eurocentric and anti-Muslim racism being paraded as some kind of form of democracy.
Harper's award was ostensibly given to him for what the group referred to as his commitment to freedom, human rights, and peace. However, experts say the organization seems to have ignored the Canadian Prime Minister's lack of support for such democratic values. They note that the Harper government has supported wars of aggression in Afghanistan and Libya, is siding with the terrorist armed gangs in Syria, is accused of election fraud domestically and is cracking down on genuine human rights organizations and democratic institutions throughout Canada. Joshua Blakeney, Press TV, Calgary.
And you can follow a lot more about this story and the way that, of course, our government just blindly goes along with anything that Israel does. The Israeli government is an apartheid government if I've ever seen one. Okay, just flat out. Take a look at the Palestinian lands and the way they just move in and take over their lands, exactly like, you know, Native Indians.
Funny how that doesn't come up in Canadian media very often.
But, you know, Canadian media ignores the fact that anything Native is, you know, fair game.
Yeah.
So anything Palestinian is fair game. And, you know, forget about human rights or anything like that. They've developed a problem. We should be standing against it. But what are our international guys doing? I mean, really? This story that you brought in this morning is infuriating, okay, the way that the government is acting and why we have to demand democracy and start getting a system that works. Check this out.
Iran's president arrived in New York Sunday to attend the UN's 67th General Assembly. However, a mere glance at the website of the Huffington Post indicates that there were attempts to have him censored from speaking this week. Canadian MP Erwin Kotler, an associate of the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs, wrote a letter to Hillary Clinton pleading with her to deny President Ahmadinejad a visa to enter the United States.
This is insane. It's not based on reasonable arguments. It appears to be a completely outrageous political fabrication, and it's towards a goal that is harmful to the world. To start excluding presidents of large, important countries from the United Nations on the basis of pure Zionist propaganda.
Critics say that it is ironic that Erwin Kotler should be pleading with the US government to arrest alleged war criminals. Whereas Iran has not waged a war for over 300 years, the leadership of Kotler's beloved Israel have waged many unlawful wars of aggression and are thus prime candidates to be arrested for war crimes. Michelle Robinson is a member of the Liberal Party who says Kotler's aggressive accusations and bold demands are distinctly unhelpful.
As a Liberal not within his writing, I can say for myself that I believe in neutrality and in peaceful negotiations, and limiting a president to come to the United Nations is stalling peace talks. And the last thing we want to do is stall peace talks. We want to create peace talks. So what we really need is we need him to be there and hear his point of view so that we can work with him and hopefully dissolve any issues within the Middle East that he could be a part of helping dissolve.
While Kotler sets himself up as an advocate for universal human rights, critics note that he is seldom seen criticizing Israel's systematic denial of human rights to non-Jewish inhabitants of historic Palestine. Such critics wonder if pro-Israel zealots like Kotler are so keen to see the Iranian president kept off the podium this week because he raises controversial and important subjects in his speeches, such as the disputed events of 9/11. Joshua Blakeney, Press TV, Calgary.
So when you take a look at the world stage, you know what you're faced with.
Yes, you're not looking at democracy or freedom. You're looking at a warmongering agenda.
So when we're talking about demand democracy, it would be our ability to vote on how they behave on the international stage. Because, you know, ending diplomacy with Iran was the worst move that has ever been made by our government in recent history.
Well, it seems to fall in line with Israel's priorities.
We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We're going to talk about the way that demand democracy works right here at Radio Free Canada. Catch up to some of our friends on our Facebook wall. Make sure you join us. Join us at Darren's Desk at hotmail.com. And, of course, you can get a hold of us right here on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back. 2 minutes. Well, right there, life is just a fantasy, especially if you're working in the federal government.
Especially in John Baird's world.
I'm sorry, a little bit of music from the A theme out of the Vinyl Vault right here at Radio Free Canada. My favorite music man, Mr. Michael Alk of the A variety, bringing us awesome links on Facebook's walls. Just the music that comes out of this guy. I'm really happy with that.
Well, he's got good taste.
And got to say hi to Kevin P., Michael A., Ralph W., Earl, Reverend Earl. We have to say
big shout out to Earl.
A huge love for our Reverend Earl, who's out there in the airwaves right now. He's working behind the scenes really hard on some stuff, so our love and our affections go out to Earl because he's not in the studio with us mocking Stephen Harper abjectly right now. And, of course, we do have to say hi to our friends at WTPN in New York City. Roger Landry heading up the crew there. Lynn Nichols making sure the Canadian side is taken care of. Big hi, guys. I hope you guys are... We're looking forward to a story about Agenda 21 coming out of WTPN.
Yeah, because that soft kill Agenda 21 is something we all need to have on our radar.
So, make sure that you get informed about what's going on. And once again, we are telling people, don't trust us. Question our facts. Go and do your own research on the internet because we don't have to make commercials saying we're the most trusted voice and you can trust us.
I think the last trusted guy was Walter Cronkite.
And there's a guy who's spinning heavy rotations in his resting place right now. Of course, we're going to be bringing you lots of reasons to smile coming up. We've got some Mark Fiore, some more from Rick Mercer coming up because the guy really makes me smile. But we're taking a look at the international stage and the way the common Canadian is misrepresented by the federal government on everything.
Especially on world events.
If we're judged by the way the federal government behaves on the international stage, we are hooped. Okay, look at this.
Good evening. After killing tens of thousands of Syrian civilians, the brutal and repressive regime of Bashar al-Assad continues the slaughter of its own people and now takes its assaults beyond its borders. The Assad regime today launched mortar attacks against the Turkish border. Canada strongly condemns, in no uncertain terms, this attack by the Assad regime across Turkey's border, which killed 5 people, including a 6-year-old child. We offer our sincere condolences to those affected, and we stand with Turkey and other regional partners. All countries must bring pressure to bear on Syria for Assad to go. Canada has some of the strongest sanctions on Syria in the world. We're working with our international partners to continue to isolate this dangerous regime and to end the bloodshed of its own people and now of its neighbors. The statement from NATO and our NATO allies speaks for itself. Canada calls for calm and for the Assad regime to stop drawing the region into this self-inflicted conflict and war on the Syrian people. The Syrian people deserve better than this illegitimate and murderous regime. Canada will continue to champion the freedom and human rights of all Syrians.
Do you have any particular message for Turkey in this as well?
I think we offer our strong our sympathies and our thoughts are with them. We obviously recognize that every country has a right to defend itself. I think we do have to appeal for calm, to not let this situation escalate out of control. At the same time, we've got to condemn in no uncertain terms this brutal act by Turkey and hope that it goes no farther. In the first few hours of this, I think that would be incredibly premature. We are condemning this in no uncertain terms. Our thoughts and condolences go to the families of the people who lost their lives and to our NATO ally. At the same time, let's hope for an appeal for calm so that things don't escalate out of control. And we will obviously be following that on an hourly basis. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's John Baird saying that it's an illegitimate government in Syria.
That is so ironic.
I mean, a conservative calling another government illegitimate. After the robocall scandal, there's no credibility in this government at all. And I do not understand how they keep their jobs. Okay? No. But, of course, we have mainstream news that forgot about the robocall scandal altogether. Just,
yeah, it seems to have dropped off the radar completely.
Boy, our democracy got totally destroyed. You know, we look like asses on the international stage because of the way that they stole the election. But, you know, that's not important. You know what's important? Celine Dion.
Yes. But
that's important.
Didn't W get away with stealing an election back in 2000?
And boy, did he ever do a good job. And the fact that the Republicans even exist as a party anymore after W.
It boggles my mind.
Okay, but that's the way that the propaganda works.
But they're trying to rewrite history. They're trying to forget that George W. ever actually held office in America.
Mm-hmm. The biggest false flag that you've ever seen, look up the term false flag, see that, they've been doing it since Vietnam. They did it in World War II. They've been doing it so much, the false flag attacks in order to incur war. Now we're looking at another false flag that has occurred
over this Turkey-Syria thing.
Okay, check this out.
Top story tonight, Turkey lied about Syria taking responsibility for attack. This is Infowars.com. Turkey lied to the United Nations when it claimed that Syria had apologized and taken responsibility for the mortar attack which led to a de facto declaration of war, increasing the likelihood that the shelling was actually carried out by Turkish-backed FSA rebels. So basically, as you know, what happened is a mortar shell landed in Turkey a couple of days ago, killed 5 people in a residential area. Turkey instantly blamed Syria, had their parliament rubber stamp military attacks inside Syria, and then told the UN that Syria had apologized and accepted responsibility for the incident, which of course led to the UN, Hillary Clinton, etc., roundly condemning Syria, increasing the pressure on Assad. And the international media ran with this Syria admits responsibility hoax and is still running with it, despite the fact that Syria's UN representative, Bashar al-Jafri, came out publicly and said Syria did not apologize and did not accept responsibility for the attack. So it appears as if this hoax of Syria admitting that they were behind the attack, when no such thing happened, is really starting to become part of the official narrative behind this series of events. And it served to kind of dampen down the growing evidence which was reported on by German news station ZDF that it was actually the Turkish-backed FSA rebels that were responsible for the initial mortar attack, which has only benefited them, in fact, because it's justified Turkey's aggressive response in opening up this 10-kilometer corridor of bombing and strafing, which has created a path for those very rebels to go back and forth between Syria and Turkey, which of course is where most of them are based. And I mean, you've got to love Turkey green-lighting these military strikes inside Syria and then claiming they're not at war with Syria because they've been attacking them for the past 3 days, as I said, 10 kilometers deep inside Syria. They've killed numerous Syrian army soldiers. For months, they've been recruiting, sheltering, training, arming, funding these militants to carry out terrorist attacks inside Syria. They've done all this, but still claim we're not at war with Syria. So it looks like the Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan is taking a leaf out of the Mars Attacks book of diplomacy. Don't run, we're your friends, while they're attacking and strafing inside Syria, while simultaneously declaring we're not at war with anyone. So even though Erdogan basically went straight to Washington after this mortar incident, begged the Obama administration to impose a US Air Force-led no-fly zone over Syria, which of course is a euphemism for bombardment and bloodshed, as we saw with Libya. Again, Turkey's not at war with Syria. Just believe that Orwellian hoax, which the international media has, because they've regurgitated the hoax that Turkey had accepted, that Syria had accepted responsibility. Completely not true. They never did any such thing. And so, it would be like if you walked up to somebody on the street, told them you hated their guts, punched them in the face, and then smiled and said, I don't want to fight with you. That's seemingly the role that Turkey has taken in this Mars attack style diplomacy. And of course, in doing so, they're being completely backed by the UN, by NATO, by Hillary Clinton, by all of them. So it's the next stage in ratcheting up the pressure on Syria as this Brookings Institution plan for neocon regime change moves ever closer.
And there you go, false flag attack right there in the middle of everything. He's talking about the real facts here. Okay, we're hearing the real facts, that there was just nonsense that was released. It got called on it. And where's major news on this?
Well, they're just following the mainstream spin.
Yeah, the mainstream spin. Remember, you won't hear about homeless issues. You won't hear about treaty negotiations. You won't hear about any real news real cures for cancer. You won't even hear about this, and you're not hearing about the fact that there's a false flag attack and that it was all BS. But, there's major news, once again, towing the company line and not reporting the news.
Well, they want their war really bad.
One thing that really makes me laugh is because, for the last 10 years they've been behaving this way.
Yeah, I know. And by the way, this weekend was the 10-year anniversary of the invasion of Afghanistan.
Wow. And that's another embarrassing
one. The longest
one.
War in U.S. history.
Well, let's lighten things up. Let's get happy. Okay, come on, let's be happy revolutionaries because it's not about being uptight all the time.
That's right.
Oh, okay, let's smile.
Let's make fun of who.
Victory-ish on the march. From the signing ceremony on the deck of the USS Hunky Dory, the announcement is made. Mission accomplished-ish. With the shores of Iraq and Greater Georgelandia fading in the distance, the quasi-victor is forced to agree to a complete pullout of troops, as per his predecessor's timetable and the demands of the Iraqi government. The semi-victorious commander declares the great expense of blood and treasure worth it. 4,500 U.S. deaths and over 100,000 Iraqi deaths later, a virtually stable democracy-something is at hand, and is a model for other countries in the region, yearning to become stable-ish democracy-somethings too. Victory-ish, the gift that keeps on, giving us debt payments, giving us more veterans in need of care, and giving us the largest embassy in the world with an army of mercenaries from Baghdad to Basra. Shock and awe is a thing of the past, and victory-ish is forever. Good night, and sorry about that.
Well, I enjoyed that one.
Victory-ish. We'll probably have victory-ish in Syria, too.
Yes, I think, remember the democracy. If you want to take a look at the biggest scam, Gaddafi, okay, the citizens before democracy was brought to them were doing way better than they are now.
Oh, yeah.
Just flat out. 5 cents a liter for gas, 10 cents for a loaf of bread. Okay, that's what life was under Gaddafi. And then they made up a whole bunch of nonsense and bombed the crap out of him.
Yeah, I know. I can't quite figure out why they didn't like it. Oh, I know why. Because he wanted to get off the petrodollar.
Yes, but they are getting off the petrodollar. China and Russia have gotten off of the American Fed currency. This is a very, very interesting thing, development on the international scale. One of the reasons why we're looking at a big war. Because,
I was calculating the price of our gas here.
Right.
It's like $5 a gallon.
I know. Okay, that's why they switched to liters, and of course they've got way more numbers on the signs now. The new signs, they're showing us. When they put the new signs up at the gas stations, it blows me away. You see more and more digits available. You're going to see a $5 liter right here in town. And just remember this. Not one municipality is doing a thing to get us off the oil grid.
Oh, no.
Anywhere. Anywhere. Okay, so we're starting up municipal sustainability right here in Kelowna. Make sure you get involved with that one. One of the things that municipals, do we got time? Do we want to do this real quick? Let's do this.
Oh,
because
something that's not been on our radar that much.
No, and we apologize to the people in the activist community for not getting to everything that's out there. But, there is a lot going on right now, and we want to be informed. So we went to a smart meter meeting on Thursday, and we were talking to a very informed individual.
Jerry Flynn.
And he's amazingly informed. We're going to get him on the show, and we're going to produce a little bit of a thing for him because he deserves it. But I want you to check it out. Just smart meters, get on it.
Since the HST has an issue upset consumers like smart meters, BC Hydro's introduction of the devices has met with a great deal of resistance.
Now, opponents claim the wireless signals are harmful to our health, while proponents say they are safely used in many other provinces. So we decided to find out. Tonight, CBC's Chris Brown put the meters to the test.
This isn't locked.
Behold, the object of BC's latest consumer revolt. Smart meters.
So there's 30 of them. There's 3 floors worth.
These are just outside Crystal D. DeMizio's downtown Vancouver apartment. Each device has 2 tiny transmitters that beam a customer's real-time electricity use back to headquarters.
When I look at this, I see the potential of there being, 30 wireless internets or 30 cell phones here, and I would never expose myself to, be this close.
For some, the fight to rid the province of smart meters has become a full-fledged war.
I've boxed mine in very securely.
Steve Sato doesn't want anyone ripping out his old analog meter and putting in one of the new smart ones.
They're mandating a wireless device which has potential health risks on our houses, which will be operating 24 hours a day, and we've been given no options on this.
They sense all kinds of goings-on.
Indeed, BC opponents linked to U.S. videos claiming Orwellian fears that smart meters are following your every move. Others blame the meters for killing off their plants, even wildlife.
And we say no!
And a lot of British Columbians seem convinced something's not right. 15,000 people signed a petition urging the smart meter program be halted. All of which has left the BC Hydro execs who dreamed it up scrambling to win over a skeptical public.
And if you stood right next to one for 20 years, it would be the same amount of radio frequency that you'd get from a 30-minute cell phone call.
In other words, virtually nothing. Still, for many, the perception of harm not only lingers, it's growing. So we devised our own test. We hired engineer Rob Sterling.
So we have antennas up the yin-yang.
His equipment is old school, but it does the job, tracking radio waves in the atmosphere. Just to show how much is already out there, we put an antenna up on Davie Street.
This is every cell phone conversation in this band, in this neighborhood.
Lots of FM radio signals, wireless and cell phone signals, but everything way below federal health guidelines. Then we went to the BC Hydro Lab. Normally, each one of these meters transmits for less than a minute a day. But we turned them all on, full blast, all at once, and put our antenna just a few centimeters away to simulate a worst-case scenario. The result?
And no higher than a typical cell conversation that we picked up as people were walking by our antennas.
It's about the same as a cell phone call?
No higher than a cell phone call, no more power than a cell phone call.
Nothing you don't encounter every day on a street corner. Of course, the World Health Organization has been saying radio frequencies are safe for decades, so our test is unlikely to end the debate. Indeed, with a baby on the way, Crystal DiDimizio is one of those not willing to take any chances. She's moving out. Dealing with 1 meter might be doable, she says, but why risk 30? Chris Brown, CBC News, Vancouver.
Talking about missing the whole story. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a guy who's a military expert who says straight out the allowable levels from Health Canada are damaging to your body.
Well, you have to ask where they get those standards.
Yeah, where do you get your standard? This military guy who spoke here in town on Thursday is a guy who said the Moscow government, the Russian government microwaved at 2.4 gigahertz the U.S. Embassy and caused diseases in all of the embassy staff.
And 2 ambassadors died.
Yes. They use these frequencies in warfare, and Health Canada stamps this frequency as allowable. And then CBC, or what was it, Global?
That was CBC.
Oh, okay. So CBC repeats the lie, saying Health Canada says this is an allowable standard. And, without carrying through and getting the other side of the story.
But Health Canada gets their standards and measurements from industry experts. That's like asking Monsanto whether their food is safe.
We have to take a quick break, man. We're coming right back. Smart Meters is on our thing. 2 minutes, okay? Thanks. Oh, man.
In this dirty old part of the city where the sun refused to shine, people tell me it ain't no use in trying. My little girl, you're so young and pretty, and one thing I know is true, you're gonna die before your time is due. See my daddy in bed is dying, see his hair turning gray. He's been working and slaving his life away. I know, 'cause he's been working, yeah, every day, slaving his life away. He's been working, baby. He's been working. We gotta get out of this place. so young and pretty. And one thing I know is true. You'll be dead before your time is due. Yes, you will. See my daddy in bed at time. See his hair been turning gray. He's been working and slaving his life away. Yes, I know. He's been working.
Excellent song. Songs of revolt right here. Or revolting songs, one way or another.
Our government is making me feel revolted.
Remember, we only have one planet, one neighborhood, one community. It's the one that you're living in. Make sure you get out in the street and get out there. Remember, if only one person is standing up for what is right, there's still one person standing up for what is right.
Yes, remember, dissent is patriotic.
Yeah, it is. And going along with the status quo is not what we're about. We're about solutions. They're about problems. Problem, reaction, solution is the way they do it. We see a problem. We find a solution. We don't need the reaction.
Yeah, I know. Well, I wonder what BC Hydro or Fortis's agenda is behind this smart meter rollout.
You know, I don't know. You know, are you just making a telecommunications company more money? Are you just making more money on the markup? You remember, we're going to inferior technology with smart meters. It's as simple as that. You've got a mechanical meter that operates for 30 years. You've got a smart meter that might operate for 2.
Well, you know, we can't give meter readers jobs. I mean, they're like a drain on society.
I know. What are you talking about? Jobs? Actually, we're going to be making fun of the whole jobs thing a little bit later on. Next hour, we've got a lot coming up here. Make sure you stay tuned for that one, and thanks to everyone for your support. But we are urging you to start your own newspaper. Get up on a soapbox. Go make a sign. Go talk to your neighbors. Talk about it. Because there are solutions. We can fix this and get rid of smart meters.
Yes. There is a chance to opt out, but we still got to get them to force a memorandum.
Here in town, we've got to force our ex-Fortis employee, Mayor Walter Gray, to not sell it to Fortis, not allow smart meters to drive down our retail prices for our residents. And Vanderzam, he's got something to say about it.
I'm hopeful. I'm hoping that in fact the people will rise up against the smart meters, because the issue is so much like the HST. It's the government imposing something on the people that hasn't been sufficiently looked into and that the people are upset about, and they're spending $1 billion without any consultation, and people are concerned about the health effects, they're concerned about the cost of it, they're concerned about the invasion of privacy, they're concerned about the fact that people elsewhere are protesting the smart meters and finding that it's not for them. So they need to be challenged on this. I can't believe that the media is ignoring this issue. I was at a function last night with 160 people. We talked about smart meters. Everybody there were no exceptions. Everybody was opposed. Everybody was concerned. So when that many people are concerned, how can the government and the media sit back and totally ignore it? I can't believe it. They tell us the cost is $1 billion. Whenever government tells us something is going to cost $1 billion, it's generally $1.5 billion. But however, it's a big cost, and that'll be have to be paid for by the consumer. I'm afraid that BC Hydro is going to go broke on this issue, and they're spending so much in so many places at the direction of government that eventually, maybe that's the whole idea, I'm not sure, that they privatize BC Hydro too. And this will go a long way towards that. It'll probably destroy hydro in the end. Well, the privacy issue is a great concern to a lot of people, and I'm certainly concerned about that too, because there's a device put to the side of your house that basically knows what's happening in the house, what you're doing, when you leave, when you come, when you go on vacation. And eventually, of course, every appliance you buy will have a device that connects to the smart meter, and they'll know all the more still. They'll even know what you're cooking. It's sad, it's crazy. The big picture, of course, is that we're moving towards globalization. Eventually, we'll be governed out of Brussels, Belgium, or someplace like that. And this all ties into that. They can monitor what's happening anywhere in the world. It's Big Brother. We'll be totally controlled. That's the direction we're moving in. We've got to stop it. And now is the time to stop it, not after it's happened.
That's an amazing clip. Okay, that is one of the ones that turns you around and says, holy smokes, I can't believe it. Okay, here's a guy who actually knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think he pays attention. Bill, you must have taken the pill.
Did Bill take the pill? That's my question.
The Bill pill.
Did Bill, can we get a Bill pill? Because, he stood up against HST. HST was not a good idea. I was one of the guys who said HST's got to go. We had a referendum. But that shows you how valuable democracy is in Canada. 15,000 signatures against smart meters, and they still put them in.
They just ignored it.
They just ignore it. I mean, we've got a government right now that ignores anything that the Canadian citizens have to say, ignores anything scientists have to say. Now we have our provincial and municipal government.
Yeah, I know.
And that was the shocking thing that came out Thursday, that Walter Gray is an ex-employee of Fortis.
And wants to invest, or he wants to sell our utility company to Fortis and invest the money from that sale back into Fortis. And where's he going to go when his term's finished? Well, he might have stock dividends with Fortis.
I mean, I see a retirement package for Mr. Walter Gray, a golden parachute from whence his feet will not touch the ground. Of course, we do have to get people locally informed about the fact that our mayor is a former Fortis employee.
You mean whore?
I'm sorry.
Can I say that?
Are you allowed to say that he's just a shill for the power companies? I don't know. Is
I'm
that
going to
our
say
opinion?
it anyway.
A prostitute walking the street of the oil and power companies. Is that Walter Gray selling off his buns? Yes, indeed. Hot buns from Walter Gray for anybody in the oil industry. Oh, good for you.
Seems like a bit of conflict of interest to me anyway.
Let's take a really quick break. Some of our network guys are saying, hey, man, we got to take out 2 minutes because, yes, they do have to do it. Remember, if without monetary gain, you are allowed to rebroadcast any of these things because we are totally independent, non-commercial radio. So that means if you're not making a buck, we're on your side. Just go ahead. Use this to your heart's content.
So please like us and share us on YouTube.
Yes. Yes, blatant self-promotion. We need people to wake up around the world. We need you to turn them on to Radio Free Canada. Why? Because we're here. We're going to take a quick break. 2 minutes. I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet.
This is Radio Free Canada.
I tried to reach for you, but you have closed your mind. Whatever happened to our love? I wish I understood. It used to be so nice, it used to be so good. So when you're near me, darling, can't you hear me? SOS. The love you gave me, nothing else can save me. SOS. When you're gone, how can I even try to go on? When you're gone, though I try, how can I carry on? You seem so far away, though you are standing near. You made me feel alive, but something died, I fear. I really tried to make it out. I wish I understood what happened to our love. It used to be so good. So when you're near me, darling, can't you hear me? SOS. The love you gave me, nothing else can save me. SOS. When you're gone, how can I even try to go on? When you're gone,
music right there. That's an SOS. We're sending it out to all rational people around the world. Why? Because we need you. We need intelligent, logical people to stand up against what's wrong and fix and make sure what's right is going to happen.
And I think smart meters are wrong. Okay, we've covered health issues and privacy issues, but there's another issue that people are concerned with.
I know. Check it out.
Since they were announced, and tonight the complaints over those new hydro smart meters are stacking up. At first it was the health concerns that had people charged up. Now, as hydro customers are getting their first bills under the newly installed meters, they're finding out how much more they're having to pay. As CTV's Stephanie Sherlock reports, customers say the bills are skyrocketing and they don't know what they can do about it.
Does Kathy know?
There's just not enough money at the end of the day.
As a small business owner, Candace Smoot is used to juggling to make ends meet, but an unexpected jump in her home hydro bill has her wondering where the extra is going to come from.
Like the overhead is getting bigger and bigger, and the money coming in is the same.
A smart meter was installed during her last billing period. Her bill?
It was massive, almost $800.
She's not the only customer who was shocked by their bill.
We don't know what we're going to do. This hydro bill is just bleeding us dry.
Confused and angry, Colin Campbell is at a loss.
We've taped off our front door so there's no drafts. We put new weather stripping on the back door. We've insulated the windows. We've made sure there's no drafts. We've got no heat. We're freezing.
This is Campbell's house, 900 square feet in Saanich. Despite taking all of the precautions that BC Hydro recommends, he says since the installation of the smart meter, his bill continues to rise.
It's gone up to $520, even though I've cut my heat, cut my electricity, I've unplugged my freezers.
The minister responsible for BC Hydro says it's important not to immediately blame the meters.
Now, sometimes it's seasonal because of weather or whatever, depending where they live and how their home is and what their usage was. Sometimes it can be a double read.
Coleman says British Columbians need to look at the bigger picture.
It's an important project for the grid, for BC. It's not just about the residential meter.
And customers are wondering why they are left footing the bill. Smoot says that attitude is dismissive and patronizing.
I feel like, it's just sort of like they're corporate bullies, and they can do that because there's nowhere else you can get your power.
I want Hydro to do something about it because every time you turn around, there's somebody else complaining about the smart meter and how their bills have skyrocketed as soon as the smart meters go in.
BC Hydro has put an answer to higher bills page on its website detailing why you might be paying more. The utility is also encouraging customers to contact them if their bills are extraordinary. Campbell has and is still waiting for a call back. Stephanie Sherlock, CTV News, Victoria.
So there you go. You get a smart meter installed, your bill goes up, and what happens? What do we get? We get to pay for it.
That's right. And of course, you ask Hydro about why your bill's going up, and you go to the webpage and you get no answer.
Yes, no answer at all. However, we have the answers at Radio Free Canada. Let's hear from the Green Party about smart meters.
BC Hydro is getting ready to refit every home and business in the province with new wireless smart meters. But some say the unproven technology poses a health risk to homeowners. A-News reporter Aaron Glazier has more on the story.
They are essentially a technological solution looking for a problem.
Radio waves are all around us, but BC Green Party leader Jane Sturck says we don't need more. And that's exactly what she says comes with BC Hydro's new smart meters.
Many utilities have adopted these things without proper consultation of the people in their region, and they have the same kind of backlash.
BC Hydro is switching to wireless meters they say emit less than 2 microwatts. That's equivalent to the radio waves you would get standing beside your Wi-Fi box for roughly a minute a day.
Our smart meters actually benchmark lower than the lowest standard in the world, based on the precautionary principle, a term often used by some of the detractors of smart meters. That standard is based in Switzerland, and we're well below that standard as well.
But it's the transmission between hubs that critics say are misleading.
If you happen to have the smart meter that's a collector site on your home, you're going to be sending not only your information, but information from other smart meters, which will increase your exposure and the frequency of the pulses that you're going to be exposed to.
Sturck supported the implementation of smart meters in her 2009 campaign, but has since flip-flopped. Sturck says more information on the meters has come out, and her opinion has changed, something the federal Green leader supports.
we're starting at the wrong end. We're installing a particular type of smart meter before figuring out what the grid looks like.
At a cost of $930 million, BC Hydro estimates the program will save $1.6 billion in operating costs, but will cut roughly 3,000 jobs. For those left behind, the new system will improve frontline worker safety.
Smart meters will tell us when they lose power. Today, customers have to call, otherwise we don't know. And they also tell us when power has been restored. So you can imagine how helpful that will be to our workers during storms, restoring customers in dangerous and icy conditions.
The first installations of smart meters are set for late August on Vancouver Island, and while customers can't opt out, they will be given the option to move the meters further away on their property at their expense. But not everyone agrees the meters are dangerous.
In the level of stuff out there that's bad for us, this doesn't stand out as particularly worse than anything else. That's what I see, and I base that on the logic of power, distance, and time.
The Green Party would like a moratorium on installations until a cost-benefit analysis is completed, something many British Columbians are already lobbying for. In Victoria, Aaron Glazier, A News.
The fastest 2 hours in talk radio, bringing you the information that major news refuses to do. I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet, and I'm ticked off.
I am too. I'm getting a sign. I'm getting out there. We urge you to do the same thing because activism is working around the world right now. Monsanto's getting kicked out of whole countries. We've got a major telecommunications companies getting kicked out of whole countries. Man, it's working. Just not here.
Just not. Yeah, well, we do want to get out and get that moratorium going and get rid of these damn privacy invasive meters that are damaging our health and costing us money. Now, if that's not enough to get you upset, then I don't know what is.
So remember, it took 2 years for them to arrange for the Quebec Revolution. That means you need to get to work right now. Never get defeated by an enemy that is larger than you. Remember, if you think one person doesn't count, one person doesn't make a difference, try to fall asleep in a room with a mosquito in it.
There you go.
Make sure you stand up for what is right. We're going to be back with the second hour in the fastest 2 hours in talk radio. Independent media continues with our continued attack on Christy Clark. Justin Trudeau stepping up to bat, and we're going to be talking about Rick Mercer.
That we are, and the presidential reality show.
Stay tuned, Radio Free Canada. We will be right back with hour number 2. Thanks for coming along. It's a pretty cool day today. And with that, welcome back to Radio Free Canada's amazing expose on everything that's wrong with major media. Yes, indeed, stay tuned with the fastest 2 hours in talk radio as your info warriors, Robert Nisbet and Darren Howard, set across a galaxy of misinformation, bringing you a planet of truth with hope on the horizon and the ability to slay evil empires. On this episode, our info warriors take aim at that evil Decepticon leader, Stephen Harper, as once again he defeats democracy across Canada. Remember, right now, you are only going to be hearing the opinion of our speakers, and we are not legally responsible if you jump off a bridge because of it. Everything that we are talking about is protected under Section 2 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And of course, we are bringing you media as protected under international fair usage copyright law. So stay tuned, get naked, and make sure that you spread the news that Radio Free Canada is there for you and activists everywhere. Welcome back. It is an amazing day for a Monday or a Tuesday or a Mock Harper Monday on Tuesday. I don't know what it is.
Well, we must continue being thankful because it was Thanksgiving this weekend, and I'm thankful our leaders are so inept.
Yes, you know what? If they ever got their act together, we wouldn't have so much to talk about. But we've got Stephen Harper, we've got Christy Clark, we have our former Fortis employee, Walter Gray, right here in the Okanagan, giving us so much ammunition to talk about. I don't know. It's no wonder that major news cannot catch up to us.
It's hard to restrain ourselves sometimes. Coming up in this hour, we will be discussing how well the public sector cuts worked out for the meat inspectors.
Yeah, that seems to be working out so good. We're going to be taking a look at pipelines that are getting rammed in places they shouldn't go. We're also going to be talking about Christy Clark, and one of our favorite subjects of all.
Also, we were bringing up the jobs report numbers that just came out for September. The fact that jobs are up, but unemployment is too.
Oh, man. We've got an excellent hour right in front of you, and we're going to get you as much information as necessary so you can be informed. But remember, we're not going to tell you to trust us. We don't have commercials that say that you should trust us. We have commercials that say, question us. Get on the internet. Question what we're talking about, because if you can prove us wrong, we'll change our minds. It's that simple.
So if you're an in-the-box type of thinker,
if you think that banks should continue not paying income tax,
if you think Wal-Mart should be able to continue to pay slave wages and exploit slave labor,
if you think we need pipelines where they don't belong,
if you think a sovereign nation should own our resources,
if you think that McDonald's is a restaurant,
or that CHBC is the news,
then stop listening now. Please stop listening. Don't get on there and say that we suck on our Facebook wall. This is a conscious revolution. Activism is working everywhere, and you are part of the winning team. Stay tuned, because we're talking about it. The first media that we're bringing you stuff about, well, those guys who have that warfare problem. Stay tuned, because we've got it coming up. Hang on, let's listen to this first.
Once again, high-tech weaponry has been unleashed. Powerful smart bombs hit Gaddafi's compound with unparalleled precision. But the future holds even more promise with the development of even smarter bombs, like the FWAM-11.
A few weeks ago, missile navigates through UN Security Council to go back a few weeks. Defends opposition forces and peaceful demonstrators before they get routed by Gaddafi.
The Compara bomb.
Compares brutality of dictators, advanced dictator targeting system, explains why Libyan dictator is more evil and deserving of attack than Yemen, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, or Sudan.
The Obliterator HD.
Obliterates Charlie Sheen, replaces imploding celebrity coverage with Al Jazeera, deploys cute kittens for added U.S. citizen concern in region.
The Tomahawk Retro Striker.
Brings back good old days of Clinton cruise missiles. Economy was booming. Just a few missile strikes here and there. Sarah Palin was not yet a national public figure.
The Spinal Interceptor.
Advanced titanium spinal support, annihilates wait-and-see posture, activates leadership function, support of repressed and downtrodden.
And the Retroactivator.
Goes back in time and values freedom over stability, immediately vaporizes billions given to dictators like Mubarak, scrutinizes niceification of Gaddafi.
Technology will aid us in our quest for peace and regional stability. But until that day, we will continue to just blow up.
Oh, and with lots of reasons to smile, we are back again. It is so good to be at work today, let me tell you.
Oh, I know. I just love coming in and doing this.
You know, every day we learn something new around here, but we want you to keep us informed. Make sure you get on Facebook at Radio Free Canada. Get on YouTube. Thanks to all of our new listeners and all those people who joined in since we started off on September the 15th. And thanks to everyone for giving awesome help with our municipal sustainability project. We're going to be talking about that in this hour.
That we are.
So it's good to have you along. Coming up, we're going to be talking about food safety and the way that austerity cuts affect the food that's on your table.
Yes, we have to bring up the budget again.
Yeah.
The omnibus budget bill that made sweeping cuts for public sector workers and how well that's working out for our food safety inspection.
So what we're going to be talking about coming up is, of course, that, and a big shout out to Homeland Security. Remember, we said the words bomb parts. Bomb parts, the chair is against the wall. Something else obscure, you know. Coffee.
Al-Qaeda, terrorist.
Oh, yeah, terrorist, terror.
Oh,
okay.
Cloud,
yes. One of those operational Homeland Security jobs, words that sets off their alarms is cloud. Make sure you put the word cloud in your emails to ensure Homeland Security is paying attention to you. Let's take a quick 2-minute break. Oh, it's good to be here. I think this is working. Have I got this going? Oh, there we go. That is the snap, crackle, and pop of real vinyl. Man, it takes you back, doesn't it?
Say it isn't so.
Stay tuned. In the next hour, we've got it. Great music for you, great attitude and opinion. Remember, activism is working. Right there, a little bit of the rock experience for you. Second hour right here. Welcome back. I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet. Now, I'd like you to cast your mind back, way back to February of this year, when the budget came out.
Oh, yeah.
When people were expressing concerns of the cuts they were making to our public service. Just to remind you, here's
Union leaders are raising concerns that federal budget cuts could put public safety at risk. They warn dozens of food inspectors could lose their jobs. And tonight we're learning border guards could also face the axe. Here's Mike LeCouture.
When Suzanne Ellis goes shopping, she expects the groceries in her carriage to be rigorously tested. But after hearing that a minimum of 40 food inspectors will lose their jobs because of budget cuts, well, she worries about what she's feeding her one-year-old grandson.
The standards are lower than things that he shouldn't be eating that we've been protected from up till now. Because if they cut people, then there won't be as many people looking out for things.
But despite assurances from the finance minister that cuts to the public service would be mainly felt in the back offices, unions say they're affecting the front lines.
59 technical employees, so that's inspectors or technicians with CFI, are actually being declared surplus.
A spokesperson for the agriculture minister says none of the measures will impact food safety in any way. But few can shake the memories of the listeriosis outbreak at Maple Leaf Foods in 2008, which killed 22 people.
We've seen it happen before when you have reduced frequency. I can't see it being any different in the future. If you have fewer inspectors, you're going to have less compliance. That's all there is to it.
Another place Canadians could see the cuts is at the border. Roughly 1,000 people will be affected at the Canadian Border Services Agency. The union and opposition parties believe it will have an impact on national security.
To have less inspectors at the border would normally conclude that there's going to be more guns and illegal goods and serious drugs on our streets.
Still, some believe with the government increasing the amount of goods Canadians can bring back from other countries, border workers can now focus on illegal activity without compromising security.
provided CBSA continues on its path towards having adequate risk models of targeting high-risk individuals rather than your average Canadian coming across the border.
Back at the grocery store, Alice believes the government is cutting in the wrong place, and she hopes it won't affect future generations like her grandson. Michael Couture, Global News, Ottawa.
But little did she know that the future generations would be the immediate generation of now.
Yeah.
So that was February, is that right? Is that where that clip was from? Okay, so, well, here's your...
That U.S. health alert over beef from an Alberta plant was expanded to 30 states today as the agriculture minister in this country continued to say that Canadian inspection practices are effective. But at the same time, the minister failed to explain why American inspectors caught the contamination first. Terry Malewski has more from Ottawa tonight. Terry.
Well, Peter, there are troubling questions about this tainted meat, like why wasn't it detected until the Americans stopped it at the border? And why did it take the Canadians so long to respond?
Our food is safe. CFIA is on the job.
The minister was under fire for a third day about bad meat.
Contaminated meat has reached store shelves across this country.
In fact, there is just one case where it did reach the shelves, at this Costco store in Edmonton. 4 people ate bad steaks and got sick. And whether the problem's at the store or at the slaughterhouse, it's a failure.
The fact that we have an illness is definitely not an acceptable outcome, and that's something that we're very unhappy about.
Unhappier still because those steaks came from the huge XL slaughterhouse in Brooks, Alberta. That's the same plant which produced some ground beef that American officials had stopped nearly 2 weeks earlier at the border.
It's American inspectors that caught that contaminated meat, not Canadian inspectors, and that's a failure on this government's part.
The NDP blames government cuts in food inspections. The minister says there are no cuts.
There's 46 inspection staff in that facility. 20% more than there was 3 years ago, Mr. Speaker. That's some cut.
So why didn't they spot the E. coli? The minister says they did, but not in the steaks, only in the ground beef.
We were able to contain all of that shipment. It was from the same shipment that went to the border.
But the steaks were not contained and were only recalled after people got sick.
Why did it take 12 days before a recall notice was put out by the Canadian government?
The answer to that never came. Instead, the government repeated there are lots of inspectors.
700 more inspectors are on the job now than when we formed government.
Which still leaves unexplained why the Americans were the first to spot a Canadian problem. And the American beef industry, of course, has seized its chance to say that Canadian imports are just not up to American standards, Peter.
All right, Terry, thanks very much.
And that's the way, okay, so... First of all, you say, you know, the government was reassuring us that these austerity cuts wouldn't affect our health, and then they won't answer the question
about why it took American inspectors to catch this problem.
Well, I'm kind of wondering. And you know, all the joblessness that's going on, and then all the weapons manufacturing that's going on. They don't put 2 and 2 together that they were saving money over here to spend it over there. Maybe extending power is one of the things that when he got elected, he was starting to talk about that. We need to be able to extend our power. I haven't heard about military cuts in funding.
Oh, hell no.
I mean, I haven't heard it, but there you go. Inspectors getting cut. The update from Sunday, just so you have the whole rounded out story. You know what we're talking about.
Even more questions are being asked about what is being called Canada's largest food recall in history. Tonight, an emergency debate was held in the House of Commons looking at what went wrong and who is to blame. Our Night Watch reporter Ross Neitz joins us now. Ross, there were a lot of accusations being thrown around tonight.
There definitely were, Nancy, and they won't be ending anytime soon. Already, more than 1,500 meat products have been recalled off store shelves because of E. coli concerns. And while politicians were busy blaming each other tonight, they weren't the only ones talking about the situation with XL Foods.
Something has gone clearly wrong here.
In the House of Commons,
we have some of the finest inspectors in the world, but they are hamstrung by a lack of resources, leaving them incapable of performing necessary functions of their jobs.
And on the street,
this is what we're eating. We want to be healthy and safe.
Tainted beef is on the mind. More than 1,500 XL Foods products now recalled, a list that continues to grow.
Somebody needs to be held accountable for this. You know, the meat should have never left the plant. Obviously, the checks and balances aren't in order.
Wednesday, the talk even moved into the boardroom as a class action lawsuit was officially launched against XL Foods, with a law firm behind it receiving interest from consumers across the country.
It includes those who become ill from consuming some of the recalled products and developed any illnesses related to E. coli. And we've also filed the action on behalf of all Canadians for recovery of money that they've spent on beef products that they can't use.
The meat recall is being called the largest in Canadian history, nearly impossible to ignore, although some would say the parent company behind XL Foods appears to be trying.
We're just wondering if anyone with the company is willing to say something.
Global News attempts to speak with company officials have been unsuccessful, but after weeks of recalls, the silence is no longer going unnoticed by Canadians.
Like, they don't want to step forth and own up to it, so it makes them look really guilty.
A sentiment now being shared by some in the House of Commons as well.
Where's XL been? You don't hear from them. They're not there. You call the company, you get an answering machine.
There's only one player in this whole situation that we need to blame, and that really needs to be held to account, and that's XL themselves.
A nation still seeking answers nearly a month after E. coli problems were initially found. The silence is nearly deafening. Now, while a lot of the talk is about XL Foods, the Conservatives aren't exactly flying under the radar on the issue. The opposition is pinning the tainted beef recall on the government, saying cuts to food inspections have led to the recall. It's an accusation the Conservatives deny. They say under their stewardship, 700 net new inspectors have been added to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency since 2006. Nancy?
Okay, so they just talked about in February that they were cutting, and they were making huge job cuts. Now they're saying that since they started, that they've added inspectors. Which one's the story? Which one is it?
Well, gee, they're denying the fact that it's the cuts that are responsible because it's XL's fault,
Yeah, of course it is. They're going to hold a big corporation accountable. Sorry. I almost had that straight-faced, okay?
Remember the term deferred prosecution.
Yeah. These
corporations
guys are
not held to account.
They are not, man. It is not happening. We have to take a quick break. We're going to be talking about it in a bit. We're going to be talking about Enbridge, some pipeline stuff, but we got to talk about jobs.
Yes, we do.
Radio Free Canada. We'll be right back. 2 minutes.
Sky
Sky High, the Atlantic Rhythm section, 1970s style, right here with the Vinyl Vault. We are bringing you the news and information that Major News is just too scared to focus on, making sure you're informed.
There was some good news came out last week, though.
Good
about
news.
The economy.
The always hold up your fingers with the little quotation marks when they say economy. Remember, banks make money up from nowhere. Okay, it's called fractional reserve lending. We talk about it. Those poor guys at AM 1150 and CHBC cannot carry this story. But the economy creates jobs or does not create jobs.
Well, apparently added 52,000 new jobs in the month of September.
Really? Tell me more, Robert.
Well, there was a bit of an issue with that, though.
From FNNO.com, this is the Financial News Network. I'm Chuck Pierce. While the United States may have received some heartening employment rates news for September, the same cannot be said for Canada. The country reported job gains, but an increase in the jobless rate as well. Canada saw an increase of 52,000 jobs in September, outperforming estimates according to the Dow Jones Newswire, but not enough to help the unemployment rate. The jobless rate rose 0.1% in September to 7.4%. Job gains were in the retail, construction, recreation, and agriculture businesses, among others. Job losses were primarily in the business, support, services, and natural resources sectors. For further updates and analysis of the business world, follow us on Twitter at FNN Online or check out our website at FNNO.com.
So the unemployment rate goes up. Okay.
Even though they added 52,000 new jobs.
This has got to be crazy because you're talking about actual percentages of jobs. 52,000 would seem like a lot of jobs now, but it's the MIC job thing, okay? MIC jobs, of course, being poverty-level jobs provided to us by large corporations.
Exactly.
And they're everywhere. If you take a look at all of the franchise restaurants, remember a franchise restaurant creates poverty just on purpose. Poverty level wages, that's how they design their businesses. But, one of the big companies.
You know who else created a whole bunch of MIC jobs?
Yeah, this is going to blow you away.
I was very happy to read this month that Air Canada has announced they are creating 1,100 new jobs. This is good news for our country because let's face it, everyone knows it. A job at Air Canada, that's a good job. In fact, some people would say too good. After all, the Conservative government twice had to table back-to-work legislation to keep the employees over there in line. Apparently, they're a little bit greedy. But it worked. Once the union was put in their place, lo and behold, prosperity. 1,100 new jobs. And then a buddy of mine who lives in Ottawa, who's looking for work, sent me the job listing. Now, turns out they're not full-time jobs. They're permanent part-time jobs. Minimum 20 hours a week, maximum 32 hours a week, no more. And yes, you have to work sliding shifts on weekends and holidays. You have to be able to lift 70 pounds over and over again, and preferences given to bilingual candidates. But, hey, union job, 32 hours a week, someone has hit the jackpot. And have they ever? The pay, $10.80 an hour. $10.80, a whopping 55 cents above minimum wage. Now, when I worked for minimum wage, I was a dishwasher at the Continental Cafe. The difference is I operated a Maytag. These people, they will be operating the trucks that drag the $200 million airplanes around. And when I was a dishwasher, I got a piece of the tips. When was the last time anyone tipped a guy out on the tarmac in 32 below? This is a fundamental shift in our country. Welcome to the new Discount Canada, where people who work hard for a living can't make a living at all.
Amazingly bang on the money. Thank you very much, Mr. Rick Mercer, for coming out and saying it so eloquently. We urge you right now to join up with Rick Mercer and get on YouTube, watch what he's got out there, get on CBC, say, we support Rick Mercer. He's still CBC, isn't he?
Definitely.
Or is he global, or did he defect to the dark side?
He's still on the government payroll.
Still on the government payroll, which is a very good thing. Turning our attention right now. So the jobs, I'm sorry, just to make sure that you're clued in right now. Sure, right across major media right now, they're talking about adding all these jobs in Canada, all these jobs in the States. The unemployment level has gone up in both countries, and they're not reporting what the real unemployment level is at all.
Oh, no, because they got to come up with the good news for the Harper regime.
Yes, the Harper regime you have to go into wartime looking good. Okay,
Yeah.
Simple as that. Your citizens might get wise, but really they only count people who are on EI and welfare to create their jobless statistics, and the major media goes along with this year after year after year. It blows me away.
Well, they don't report the news. They only repeat the news.
They just really, honestly, CBC, CTV, just front men for the government and for the police. It's kind of embarrassing that they don't get anything in there that's reality. We're taking a look right now. Just to switch gears, I want you to challenge us on this, but we're going to be talking about joblessness and how alternative government can solve that problem, and get involved with us with our municipal sustainability project, because that's coming up. We're talking about pipelines right now. Just before we take a quick break, I want to run a quick story here talking about Enbridge, talking about the pipelines, is dead in the water.
Seems that way.
I feel that's so good.
And then you look around and then you think, what have we got ourselves into?
The Northern Gateway project involves building 2 pipelines
to ship from Kitimat to Asia-Pacific markets.
The storms come up out of nowhere.
We're 100% Canadian. There is a demand for oil.
Other Canadians want jobs.
For every job created in the oil sands, we lost a job somewhere else.
Who's paying you to be a surrogate for the oil industry?
Put guards outside for 10-year-olds.
We're in a global economy. It wasn't created by the environmental groups.
There is no industry in Canada that employs more Aboriginal people than the oil sands.
The terrorism watch list now includes some environmental groups.
Greenpeace called.
Using Aboriginal people as a weapon against the oil sands.
The Government of Canada has no business operating as the public relations arm of the oil industry.
We should only be allowing Canadians and Canadian interests to be the ones who speak at this hearing.
We'll take all the risk and somebody else will get the benefits.
It'll be battled in court, from what I understand.
There'll be public hearings in Alberta and British Columbia.
Surgeons have enrolled over 4,000 people.
There are environmental and other radical groups that would seek to block this opportunity. These groups threaten to hijack our regulatory system to achieve their radical ideological agenda.
I don't believe those words were written by Joe Oliver.
I think they all want is living in grass huts.
We have to chain ourselves to equipment.
I'm prepared to stand in front of bulldozers if I have to.
But it's well known that there are some groups who oppose all hydrocarbon development.
Well, in a perfect world, the tar sands wouldn't be there.
Conservative war room woke up.
Why should a monster drink oil?
China Sino-Canada.
We don't need oil because we don't drink it like water.
Grassroots organization, you're a surrogate.
I'm a student. Look at the energy picture in Canada right now. Half of our country is dependent on foreign oil.
This whole stupid thing about dirty oil, as if our oil is dirtier than other people's.
Things will have to escalate with force if necessary.
The premise of your question is incorrect. We have better environmental rules. We have better human rights.
You don't need new pipelines to continue producing 1.7 million barrels per day.
They say we need oil. No, we need energy. We need power.
We don't need oil, period.
That's too bad. They've got a lot of money.
We'll become violent very quickly.
Phenomenal. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that they did that. And they got away with it.
That's a trailer for an upcoming documentary called Pipe Dreams.
Yes, and I am very impressed with that. We're going to make sure that we promote that as much as possible. And if you hear of something happening out in the general public and, some kind of news, that just like the smart meter thing, get a hold of us. We'll come down. We'll cover it. Okay?
Oh, definitely.
Okay, and we are urging people to get out there and start opposing the war that's going on right now over oil territory. It's not democracy because we don't have it. Okay.
To all intents and purposes, the Enbridge pipeline is dead.
Yes, but they are doing their best to get another one going through. We saw, who was it?
Daryl Hannah got arrested opposing another Keystone XL pipeline through Texas.
Yeah, But these guys, of course, they've got their $1 trillion cookie jar, and they really want to keep that open. Right here up north, we do have some national focus, and a new face, or a new old face, or somebody we actually met. Radio Free Canada, we had the privilege of hosting Mr. Justin Trudeau right here with an Occupy Kelowna event, and it was really cool meeting the guy.
It was. He does seem to know what he's talking about and what concerns Canadians.
Yeah, he's this guy. You can actually listen to him. Remember, he's going to get roasted because CBC and Global are obviously biased towards the Conservatives and the NDP. But
of
the
course,
Liberals,
the Conservatives will give you the opposite spin. They're biased towards the Liberals and the more progressives.
Yeah, I know. At any rate, let's take a look. Make up your own mind. Take a look at what Justin had to say.
Just one day after announcing his bid for the leadership of the federal Liberals, Justin Trudeau made an appearance tonight in Richmond. Trudeau focused on national unity and economic issues while talking to a packed house of about 1,000 supporters, as well as his mother. After steering clear of this issue in his speech, when pressed by reporters, Trudeau came out against Enbridge, the proposed Northern Gateway pipeline.
I believe in the precautionary principle. I believe that if you're going to build a project that goes through one of the most vulnerable and beautiful ecosystems in the world, in the Great Bear Rainforest, if you're going to bring in congested tanker traffic in the narrow passage to Kitimat, if you're going to put at risk the 30,000 British Columbians who live and work on the ocean around the Hecate Straits, around Haida Gwaii, you have to have a better plan than what it looks like Enbridge is putting forward. There is a process. They're going to have to be better about justifying it if they want to go ahead. My default position is pipelines, sure, but not there.
So what do you think? I mean, the Liberals came out last year and said, we're going to decriminalize pot. And we are going to talk on Friday about the fact that our mayors got together and talked about decriminalization. But there's Justin Trudeau saying, not there.
No.
And I agree. We don't need 280 more tankers going through the rockiest, roughest coast. You know, one of the rockiest ones on the planet. I don't know. I'm a little biased.
It just kind of seems not if a spill happens, but when, because it will happen if we go ahead with this project.
But, remember, you got to look at the photoshopping that they did about Kitimat.
Oh, yes.
Oh, the Photoshop photograph that these oil executives came up with where they erased a couple thousand islands that were in between the port and where the oil, if you have to lie, it ain't worth it, okay? But we have one of our other front people for the oil industry stepping up. Of course, our premier of British Columbia.
Yes.
It was kind of a courtesy call. I didn't have big expectations coming out of it. It was only 15 minutes anyway. I mean, she's got a lot on her plate in Alberta at the moment. But, we stopped in to say hi. I knew her position was unlikely to have changed. My position hasn't changed.
Premier Christy Clark is back from her Alberta adventure, where she once again tried to squeeze economic concessions from Alison Redford in exchange for Victoria's support of the Enbridge pipeline. Her latest weapon is electricity. In this case, a threat that BC Hydro won't provide power to Enbridge to move oil to BC's coast.
Well, the thing is that at the moment, Alberta doesn't want to have a conversation with us. And that's part of the problem, right?
But these comments don't help either.
They don't want to. Well, you know what, though? I mean, I think people need to know that this project is not going to go ahead without the consent of the British Columbia government. So, whether or not there are things that the government could actually do to stop it, in terms of BC Hydro or not providing permits, is kind of irrelevant.
Do you regret the comment?
The government, no, I don't. I mean, it's true. But the thing is that the project isn't going to go ahead if the British Columbia government doesn't give its consent, period. It's just not.
Alison Redford's stance is simple. Oil revenue from the tar sands belongs to Alberta under the Constitution. To give some of that money to BC would set a precedent. Redford analysts say doesn't need to do anything. Just wait for the federal government to push the project through, no matter what the opposition in BC.
Do you buy the argument that there remains just a huge cultural divide between both provinces?
Yes, there's no question about it. There is a big cultural divide between us on this. The environmental issues are issues that I don't think Albertans have really thought about a lot. I don't think people from Alberta really understand how much we cherish our coast and how much we cherish our environment here.
Clark's visit to Alberta has been called a PR gesture in our province. Critics in Alberta have called her inconsistent, self-contradictory, and even desperate.
What's the next step for the Premier of British Columbia? You were in Alberta, You sound and look frustrated, quite frankly. Where do you go from here next? Where do you go?
You know, Jazz, I feel like I've done my bit and made my point pretty clear. We've got 5 conditions. They all have to be met. It's not as though you could meet the 5th condition on the money. I feel like I've made the point. I've invited everybody to the table. Now really the ball's in their court. It's up to them to come. I have, I think, made my best efforts on behalf of the province, and I don't think I could have been clearer than I've been.
I think she could have been clearer. I don't know. But we didn't vote for Christy Clark. I mean, nobody voted for him. Gordon Campbell had to resign in disgrace, and then we got stuck with Christy in there, and it just kind of blows me away that she's still a mouthpiece. But
yeah, she's supposed to represent us. Well, at least she's asking for money.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, really. The chances of them getting a pipeline put through pristine territory in northern BC are dwindling in front of us. But we urge you to get informed. Not one municipality is trying to get us off the oil grid, but we are. Radio Free Canada presenting municipal sustainability in a program that we're starting to market to City Hall. We're doing a little bit of a documentary right now in the background that City Hall is not paying attention to.
Because they don't want to.
No. Well, of course, we've got a former Fortis employee as our mayor.
Exactly,
so.
Yeah. He's real concerned about our concerns.
Yes. Yeah, he does such a good job representing us.
Walter Gray, take a hike.
Thank you for tuning in. It is really good to have you on the winning team. Make sure you get informed. Stay on Facebook. Get informed with what we're doing. And remember, you can hold your government accountable. We'll be back 2 minutes. Yes, more consciousness than you can shake a stick at, but what do you want to shake a stick for anyways? We've got the music and the attitude right here for you. I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet.
It's so good to have you along right here while we make fun of major news missing the story.
Well, you know, all last week, nothing happened except for on Wednesday.
Yes.
They had the presidential reality show on.
Yeah, apparently they've got some kind of election going on down south. And, of course, CBC and, CBC, CTV, Global, they totally missed the fact that there's more than 2 candidates. If you listen to CBC, they have no clue who Ron Paul is.
Elizabeth Warren, the guy from New Mexico, Gary Johnson, who represents the Libertarian Party.
They've actually got other guys, but, we're going to be covering the fact as we get closer to November, the fact that Americans don't even vote for their own president. It is one great big smoke and light show, and we really like it. I like it.
But apparently Obama had a debate.
Yes. Are you going to run this? Go ahead. Go for it.
Okay guys, so some of you may have caught the presidential debates Wednesday night, but tonight we are going to show you what the debates would have looked like if We Are Change had been in charge of asking the questions. President Obama, Ben Bernanke thinks that printing indefinite amounts of money and lending it to overseas banks is fair on the American people. What are your thoughts?
Governor Romney and I both agree.
And how do you feel about taking campaign donations from Wall Street banks like Goldman Sachs?
It appears we've got some agreement.
Mr. Romney, President Obama's actions have shown that he believes the president should have the ability to indefinitely detain U.S. citizens. What is your response to this?
We agree.
For decades now, the American foreign policy has been one made up of unconstitutional and seemingly never-ending wars. What are your policies?
We've got a somewhat similar position.
Mr. Romney, under President Obama's administration, the TSA has found it appropriate to molest our children and grandparents when we travel in the name of our safety. What do you think?
I agree.
President Obama, what are your thoughts on the NSA deeming it necessary to spy on American citizens through warrantless wiretapping and drone surveillance?
I suspect Governor Romney and I probably agree.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter which one of you is elected because both of you are totally fine to sell us all out to keep your bankster friends happy.
Governor Romney and I, we both agree.
I'm sure you do.
Oh, man. I love working around here. That's just awesome. But you know what? Page by page, it doesn't make any difference if you vote Republican or Democratic. They're both doing the same thing to their own country.
Of course. It's the land of the free and the home of the brave. Oh, wait.
No.
Most incarcerated people, and they're scared of everybody else out there.
Yeah, they're more paranoid than any other nation that there is, but they're more interventionist than any other nation there is. I agree. The United States had a reason to be proud at one point. Now, they got a lot of things to clean up.
Oh, I know.
But they spend more money on arms than they do on their own people. They debate health care. This is the kind of people they are.
I know.
It's weird.
It's weird. I know.
They're weird and creepy in that way. But We Are Change came up with... Oh, what have you got here?
Oh, I got...
You know what?
It might cause some real change in the U.S. process.
There is another influence. Let's check it out.
Can we start wars in faraway countries without the authorization of Congress?
Yes, we can.
Can we declare the whole world, including our homeland, a battleground where American citizens can be detained indefinitely under military law?
Yes, we can.
Can we transfer trillions of dollars from hard-working Americans to our friends in Wall Street in return for promises of campaign finance?
Yes, we can.
Can we secretly designate any given American as the enemy and without ever charging him with an offense, have him murdered?
Yes, we can.
And can we expect never to be accountable because no matter who is elected next, Republican or Democrat, he will continue these policies as if they were his own?
Yes, we can.
High-tech terrorists.
Cyber terrorism.
Information terrorism.
Shut it down.
We're going to hang you.
We use a drone or something.
A bullet in the brain.
Illegally shoot the son of a...
This election, you face a difficult choice. Whoever gets into office falls captive to the very government institutions they were tasked to reform. But there is another option. Government institutions know that knowledge is power. That is why they spend so much money attempting to conceal their plans and actions from all of us. They know that together we can force them to act differently. This election, you can choose to help us run America over the next 4 years. Cast the only vote that matters. Vote with your wallet. Vote WikiLeaks. I'm Julian Assange, and I approve this message.
And I approve that message, too.
I do, because secrecy is not what the American people get. I mean, that's what they get. They don't get transparency.
Yeah, and we're working on transparency. We started hacking together what we thought was going to be a 20-minute show on opacity and transparency, on the way you know things or you don't know things, and what the government is doing, and how we have to create transparency in government. And then a 20-minute show turned into a 40-minute show, turned into an hour-long show, turned into a 2-hour show, because there's so much opacity.
Oh my goodness, it's just crazy, and it keeps growing every day.
And it's getting worse and worse as we go along. It's a little bit frustrating for us right now because we're getting just shoveled so much BS. But we're here for you. We're here to help solve the problems.
That's right, we are.
Just before we take a break, I do want to take a look at the most unusual thing that occurred down in the United States. Walmart workers
and now to a
going
story
on
you
strike.
probably haven't heard about yet affects millions of Americans. Walmart, the nation's largest employer, is coming under fire for its labor policies again. Employees from multiple stores have decided to strike over the chain's anti-union policies. Now, it's the first time this has happened in Walmart's 50-year history.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Party wages got to go! Hey, hey!
Well, technically, the workers you see striking there are contractors. They work on Walmart's famously efficient supply chain, but that efficiency comes at a price. Workers are protesting low pay and unsafe conditions, including violent threats, sexual harassment, extreme temperatures, and forced work. The strikers are organized through a coalition called Our Walmart, which is technically not a union, even though it has backing from the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. That means that the protesters are not protected under U.S. law to strike for better working conditions. Well, Walmart has not reacted well to unions in the past. When a group of food workers voted to join a union, Walmart preferred to shut down the store and start up a new one somewhere else. So warehouse workers in places like Elwood, Illinois and Riverside, California are risking their jobs to make Walmart a safer place for workers in their future. Their demands include increased take-home pay, sufficient hours, and ending the culture of silence that lets abusers off the hook. We'll see if Walmart's low prices every day on everything mantra continues to extend to its employees.
And it's embarrassing. I mean, those guys, it's terrible. You support Chinese slave labor. You're obviously a part of the problem. Get with the program.
Exactly. I mean, you can't even pay your own workers that live here in North America a decent wage.
It is. It's terrible, but that's capitalism because, too much is never enough. Taking a quick 2-minute break right now. We're coming back Friday. We got an excellent show lined up for you. Make sure you stay tuned with that because we're going to talk about pot legalization.
Should it be legal? What do you think?
Get informed. Get in touch with us, and we'll be back 2 minutes. They say it's a small price to play, but I'm not sure about that. We've got a future to defend. We've got a generation to take care of. That's what we're here. Okay, we are, and of course, we're here to smile while we do it because that's how you do it.
Well, you have to smile, even though the whole world is falling apart.
You know
now,
what?
those poor guys down in L.A. and Chicago striking against Walmart because, low prices, live better. I mean, what?
Yeah, come on, okay? What the heck's going on with that? But we're not hearing about it on major news at all.
Oh, no.
Okay, we had 50,000 police officers go on strike in London. Okay, London, England. Nothing about that. Hit 50,000 people. 46,000 people in front of the mayor's house in Tokyo. Okay, that protest wasn't covered, and now we got another one.
Well, do you think if Global ran this story, they would continue to get advertising money from Walmart?
I know. See, there you go. But check this out. A Pakistani. Do your own. See if Global covered this at all.
In response to U.S. Predator drone strikes, former cricket player turned Pakistani politician Imran Khan and a convoy of anti-war protesters will set off on a march through Pakistan Saturday. Khan is calling the two-day rally a peace march, and according to the BBC,
he hopes the march will be, as he says, a game changer that will force the government here and the government in the United States to re-examine the use of drones.
The U.S. has launched more than 300 drone strikes, which have killed over 2,500 people in Pakistan in the last 8 years, according to the Bureau of Investigative Journalism. Khan calls these attacks a crime against humanity and adds, the whole world will be told how drones are destructive and counterproductive through this march. But some say Khan's rally, which will begin in Islamabad and end in South Waziristan, might be a dangerous idea. Al Jazeera notes the Pakistani Taliban, a common target of drone strikes, and a group that calls Khan a slave of the West, have threatened to attack the protesters. Ahead of the march, local media carried reports of alleged suicide bombings planned against the demonstrations, and a pamphlet distributed in a town along the march route warned participants they would face danger. The group has also suggested that Khan might be leading the march to support his own political agenda. The Guardian quotes the Pakistani Taliban saying, Imran Khan's so-called peace march is not in sympathy for drone-hit Muslims, but only to increase his political popularity. Local officials have so far refused to protect the marchers, but haven't ruled out intervention in the name of public safety. For Newsy, I'm Neville Miller. Multiple sources, the real story.
And yeah, multiple sources, the real story. That's why, of course, around here we always say that we're getting money together to get our local news editors the internet so they can start getting the story.
We'll have more news on that story later at a later date.
Yeah, for sure, because, every show we walk in, we've got about 70 things to talk about. We've only got 2 hours. We are going to be expanding the time that we're working on things so we can get a little more in-depth. But we're just trying to arm you with everything that you need and then give you a few reasons to smile.
So coming up on Friday, we're going to be talking about the failure of the security state down in the States.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about bad cops that don't deserve donuts. As well as an activism update, and we'll be also bringing you more stories on innovations and alternate energy ideas and food sustainability ideas as well.
You know it, ma'am, which is an awesome grocery list for us to play around with in our minds and, sort of get corporate news caught up to us, which is such a weird thing to say. Municipal sustainability is on our brains. Energy has been one of our highlights. We got enough time. I think we need to hear.
I think we need to hear from Mr. Mercer, one of Canada's jewels.
Planning a piñata party, but tired of the same old, okay, I hit it, here comes a trickle of candy. Then why not try the piñata that's guaranteed to surprise?
The Enbridge Piñata. You never know when it's going to blow. Unpacking it. Hanging it up when it's least appropriate. Enbridge Piñatas, as easy as 1, 2, 3. It's the fun piñata that keeps you guessing.
Oh, and we're there again. I can't believe it. It just blasted by.
It goes by so fast some days I can't believe it.
Man, we cover more information here in 2 hours. Well, it's because we need it. We siphon through thousands of hours of Justin Bieber talking or news that talks about sports as if it's important. We get rid of all the nonsense, siphon it down for you, so you're armed and ready to go when you go out there and start talking to all the haters and the warmongers and all those people who have no hope in the future. We have hope. We believe in the future.
So if it's not on your radar, remember, smart meters, GMOs, and chemtrails. These are all things that concern us all, concerns everybody on the planet.
So you can get informed and you can make a difference, and don't ever let anybody tell you you can't. we got time enough, and I do want to make a few mentions right here. We got to thanks a lot for David Jones Cook and the Reverend Earl for coming in with some awesome information. All of our think tank groups, we really got to thank you guys for chipping in and being honest about what change and what the future can look like once we get some municipal sustainability going. So my hat's off to Ralph Wistera, to, you know, Michael Alk, and, you know, all those guys.
All those guys that are on our page to keep giving us ideas for new stories.
You know, new places to go. And thank you for tuning in for sure. Radio Free Canada, we are recorded at Guerrilla Radio Design Studios at Box 20013, Kelowna, BC, V1Y9 Henry 2. I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet. We'll see you on Fantastic Friday.
Right here. You know it. The revolution continues. Woohoo! All right. We'll be back on Friday. Have yourself a great day. Tag, you're it.
The myth of overpopulation originated in England in 1798, when a vicar named Thomas Malthus, who fancied himself something of a mathematician, saw that food production increased incrementally, but people reproduced exponentially. He sat down and did some simple math, and summarily decided that the world would be out of food by 1890. He blamed reduced mortality rates, and recommended killing off the have-nots of society, lest the haves starve to death. This cry was taken up by Paul Ehrlich of Stanford University in 1968, who claimed that reckless human reproduction had overwhelmed the Earth. Massive famines would result, which would destroy, best case scenario, 1/5 of humanity by the end of the 70s, and the planet would follow. This fear produced large donations for the newly created UNFPA, which thrives on an imagined crisis that has been both imminent and rescheduled again and again over the past 2 centuries. The truth of the matter is that every family on this planet could have a house with a yard and all live together on a landmass the size of Texas, which is really just a small corner of the planet. The population of Earth will peak in 30 years and then start to go back down. We're not overpopulated. Do the math.